How are you assessing the RNC in terms of both optics and substance as it stands?
Well, it's great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me. Certainly, unity has been the theme in this Republican convention so far. That's undoubtedly true. And particularly listening to Nikki Haley's endorsement of Donald Trump, I think that that's very important for a lot of disaffected or disillusioned Republicans who refuse to support the former president throughout the primaries. I do think, though, that if you look closely at the words that both Nikki Haley used and Ron DeSantis used, most of the focus was on the opponent, Joe Biden, and the current administration. And it was maybe less effusive than you might expect for Donald Trump himself. But still, I think that those endorsements will be important for a good segment of the population who are moderates on the fence, maybe aren't enthusiastic about voting for either candidate.
You know, I thought it was fascinating as well. NBC's Chuck Todd wrote an analysis piece on the NBC website. He said, the darkness of Saturday's assassination attempt has given way to a unified GOP convention that Democrats may struggle to match. Would you agree?
I think so, especially if Republicans can stay on message. There were a few lower profile speeches during the night that were a little bit more dark and a little bit more in line with the Trumpian type rhetoric that we're used to hearing. But I do think that the assassination attempt in many respects did take a talking point out of the wind of Democrats, calling Trump an existential threat to democracy and other strong claims. I think they're going to have to dial that back a little bit in the Democratic convention. And that really is the key message that they have been communicating to voters over the last several weeks and months. So it's unclear how Democrats are going to pivot. I think all the momentum right now is with the Republicans and with Trump specifically.
And to your point, it's been about 3 weeks since President Biden's very rocky debate performance that sparked panic within the Democratic Party. He has done a lot since then, a number of interviews, a number of speeches, both off and on teleprompter. But is it enough to shut down dissent among Democrats in order to move forward? And how else do you expect, Thomas, the Dems and President Biden to realign their campaign strategy in the aftermath of what's happened over on the Republican side and what's happened to former President Trump here?
Well, one of the problems for Biden is that Americans just can't unsee what they saw at the debate. And I think particularly the Democrats and Biden specifically struggled to spin what happened at that debate, giving all sorts of excuses, such as that the president had a cold, that the president was suffering from jet lag 11 days after he returned from Washington, that the president is okay between the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., just not necessarily convincing for a lot of voters. At the same time, Biden has been adamant that he's staying in the race, and ultimately the decision is up to him. I don't think that he has been able to successfully quiet dissent from within the party. At the same time, I do feel like the assassination attempt took the focus off Biden a little bit, which is probably a good thing for him politically. I think there is a sense just within the Democratic Party right now that maybe increasingly it's not time to change horses mid-race, especially with all the chaos that has happened. But Biden is really struggling to find his message. And even in some of these post-debate interviews, he has struggled with words. He's lost his train of thought. And it's just really tough because every single appearance now is viewed through this larger narrative of cognitive decline. And so Biden needs to essentially be perfect. And if not, you're going to see a clip of him on Twitter or some other social media platform flubbing this word or that word. He's really not in a good position right now. About 72% of Americans think that Biden doesn't have the cognitive capacity or physical vigor to do the job. So if he is going to win, it's going to require that a large section of Americans vote for the president despite not thinking that he's up to the task.